Love
Let's get
it.
to the AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs. Where you got them going is their biggest need?
D-line for me. D-line, I'm being at 31, you still got great value available, in my opinion. And I'm thinking about improving the depth at the D-line and adding talent. Kenneth Grant is the name for me that I would love to see associated with the Kansas City Chiefs. Just think about a guy who's 6'4", 330-ish, quick feet, good eyes, great motor, and he plays with a relentless effort, and you pair him up next to Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. And the thing about Kenneth Grant, yes, he's a massive individual, but he's not a two-down player. He can rush the passer. I mean, and there's countless video of him retracing his steps and going to hunt the ball carrier and run him down and make plays. So if you're talking about bulking up a little bit, yeah, Kansas City. I mean, there's a few other directions they can go, but just my personal opinion, I'll take the D-line here. And Kenneth Grant probably will be available at 31, and that's the name you should reach out to, in my opinion.
I love that fit also because from just almost like a tools perspective, he's very similar to Chris Jones in terms of he's taller, almost 6'5". He's got long arms, almost 34 inches. He can basically learn from Chris Jones, the master of that sort of body type, and how to win with that length consistently. He learns from him, just like copies his pass rushing moves. You can do it every single day. So I like that call out. I went just because I don't know after his pro day that was so good, after the sort of pre-draft hype, if he makes it to pick 31. So I went Alfred Collins, a similar day 2 long nose tackle, not near the pass rushing upside, but like your run defense gets stouter with him in the fold. I went with him at pick 66, but I agree it's DT. A lot of people want to say O-line after how that last season ended.
Yeah.
But they're going to kick one of those guys in either Wanya Morris, Kingsley Suamai-Ida into left guard. And it would surprise me if they draft another offensive lineman highly, just given how much they've invested in that position. At the end of the day, at some point, you just got to lean on your laurels and say, we just got to develop these guys. We've taken a bunch. Now let's see how they fare. All right, LA Chargers, where kind of a big offseason turnover after last year's offseason turnover, another season of a lot of turnover. Where are you looking, though, as their biggest need?
More playmakers. Offense, more playmakers. Now, at 22, will they address this need? I'm not sure, but tight end is definitely a die need for them. They didn't have any tight end production. All the pressure was put on young rookie wide receiver Ladd McConkey. He played his way into the number 1 passing receiving option. No, so give him some help. Give your quarterback some help. I know you brought in Mike Williams, but if you really felt that way about Mike Williams, you would have never let him leave. You brought him in to add depth because it wasn't like his play in New York, not saying it was solely on him, and with Pittsburgh, showed you that he's ready. He's back to being that prime like Mike Williams. And you're hoping for that. And not saying that he can't get to that level, but you're hoping for that. So add more talent to this offense because we know you're going to run the football. It's about being super consistent in the passing game. Now at 22, will they make this move? I don't know. Tyler Warren won't be there at 22. I know that much for sure. But Colston Loveland will be. And you have to remember, Colston Loveland was the number 1 tight end option a year ago in terms of draftable tight ends while he was at Michigan. And it wasn't like he didn't play up to that level. It just, dealt with some injuries here and there. And of course, Tyler Warren had a great year along with playoff run as well. But Colston is still a great tight end 1, in my opinion, in this draft. So I don't know, Mike, 22, will the Chargers roll the dice that high for them, knowing that they're drafting a player not named Tyler Warren? But I think Colston Loveland, if you can get him into a Chargers uniform, not to mention, who's the head coach for the Chargers?
We had the same idea. Jim Harbaugh. Michigan, man. I had the same idea because I haven't going Kenneth Grant because I think DT, after losing Poona Ford, is barren on that roster. And Tito Abonia, Tier Tart, Deshaun Hand, those names aren't doing it for me. along the defensive interior. Now they always seem to have guys like play above their pay grade, but like you could get some athletic talent in there. So I went with Kenneth Grant, but I love Colson Loveland for them. If I'm picking between the two, both are on the board. I'd lean Colson Loveland. They need reliable receiving options. The problem is again, they're in that sort of weird spot where you drafted a guy in the first round in Quentin Johnston. How much leash do you give him to develop to be that wide receiver 2?
Let that leash go.
Right? Like
Let
at this
go.
point, it seems like that's probably going to be the route they take. That I assume they'll address it within the first couple rounds, at least some sort of receiving option. All right, Denver Broncos, where I think we have similar ideas. You went running back. I just went playmaker because you could use a guy who's like a wide receiver that can take handoffs too. You got Marvin Mims in there, but like for me, Sean Payton's never had the focal point guy, or rarely had the focal point guy in his offense who's like a 300 carry back. So I think you'd get more play out of, if you're looking early in this draft, out of a wide receiver, especially since like there's so many backs. They might even draft like 2 running backs in this draft class, given how deep it is.
Offensive playmaker, definitely continue to add to the young quarterback in Bo Nix. See, viewers, you see the theme here. We continue to emphasize adding talent to your young quarterback. Organizations, that's what you have to do. I have them attacking the running back position, but they need to add more talent to their offense. Their defense was great a year ago. They've added more quality players to the defense via free agency. Now, they might hit on another player here or there throughout the draft, but most notably, let's attack the offensive line. I mean, the player that I have them attached to was a Bronco in college, right? Ashton.
Blue and orange.
Yeah, Ashton Genty. So I understand the logo is a little different, but he was already, he was already a horse, So he understands the pedigree. So Ashton Genty for the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram. You talked about Mims. Throw in Ashton Genty. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean there's probably not a lot of teams that running back's just unique in how teams drafted. Not a lot of teams would. If he falls to 20, I would just be floored if he fell any further. They are going to take Ashton Genty. It just
now I don't want to go too far. I know we still have another team too. Well, what if Ashton is not there? I
went Luther Burden.
Yeah,
for them
because Denver, what number pick they have?
20, big 20.
They're 20.
To me, that's too high to go Marion Hampton. I know a lot of people have him mocked there with Genty off the board.
See, that's what I was thinking. Now, that Marion Hampton, he's special too. So this is what we're going to be in the war room. All right, Mike, do you want to stay at 20 or do you want to move back and try to go get Hampton late in the first? Like, those are the conversations we got to have in the war room, and they got to happen fast. So now we on the board. All right, we see who going. Ashton is going. What are we doing? Mike, I understand. Luther, he's here. But if we can move back, and we got to ask our scouts, do you think Marion Hampton going to be available in the late 20s, early 30s? We need the answer. All right, they say he's going to be available, Mike. What do we do? Then we can pick up
Burden still. I think I'm drafting Burden there because Marion's great. There are loads of great backs in this class. And you got pick 51. You got pick 85. I don't think there's a receiver like Burden at pick 51, 85. A yak guy, a guy that can really be your slot weapon that just like takes that hitch from Bo Nix and breaks a tackle and gets the first down.
Okay.
That's what they needed from last year's class.
So this is what we're going to do. Let's go Luther here, Mike. But if Omarion Hampton is available in the early second, we got to move up. Put together a package. Let's start thinking about a package right now. All right?
I think they traded up when they drafted Javonte Williams, if I'm not mistaken. I think
that was 3 years ago?
Yeah, or 4 years ago, because he just
4 years ago.
So not out of the realm of possibility. Could be a similar situation.
We just figured out.
I mean, that would be
the Broncos. That's how
that would be so synergistic if they trade up for North Carolina running back, top of the second round. Like,
and
there's a lot of.
So think about the first 2 picks. If this was to happen for Bronco Nation, right? For your fans, you get Luther in the first, you trade up to go get a Marion Hampton in the second.
Bo Nix is like crying tears of joy.
You got with Sean Payton as your play caller. And you know one thing about Sean, when he put those glasses on his nose, when he has that play sheet in front of him, boy, he's cooking up some heat. Them glasses be on your nose, you know, you looking like a professor.
I mean, just please, if you're a Broncos fan, you would be happy as hell.
Put together that package. We need it ready. If he's available early in the second, we're going to get him.
The analytics guy. Get the picks together. All right, last team. Las Vegas Raiders. Picking 6th overall. They have some fairly distinct needs.
Yeah.
Which one do you say is the biggest, though?
Running back, offensive playmaker. I have them taking wide receiver. I do.
Okay.
And the reason,
I agree.
Yeah, the reason why, you know, you talked about how deep the running back class is. Mike, this might be the deepest running back class that I can remember. I'm talking about over the last decade plus in terms of just quantity and quality combined. So if you're the Raiders and you're still high, you got a high pick in the second round, you know, you can go get you a great back in the second round, especially if Marion Hampton is available that high. But I have them taking Ted McMillan. I know we've been kind of getting some issues about Ted. I think he's a great player, in my opinion. Very, very smooth, bro. He's smooth. He has the smoothness of an AJ Green in how he runs his route. It's just so smooth. You know what I mean? And he's productive as well. You know, and running that 4.4, that sub 4.4 was definitely much needed for him to kind of check off the final box. And if you're the Raiders, you know, Jacoby Myers quietly had a really, really good year. Quietly. Didn't have really good quarterback play, but you brought in Geno Smith, you know, add some talent around Geno Smith. And that's another team, too. I'm surprised wasn't a little more active via free agency at the wide receiver position. So that's a need for them. I had them taking Ted McMillan.
Yeah, the Raiders, a lot of roster turnover over the course of free agency. They weren't huge, massive players out in the market, and let some big names that were in that team go, especially in the secondary, which is why I went cornerback for them. Now, pick 6, I don't think I'm going like Will Johnson, right? You know, if Travis Hunter falls to 6, sure, by all means, take him. Yes, no brainer. But I'm waiting, and the name that I keep going to for the Raiders, because it's kind of Pete Carroll's MO, Darian Porter, Iowa State corner, who's 6'3", long arms, 6'8" wingspan. Ran a 4.3 at the combine, one of the fastest players in the street. He's Tariq Woolen. You know, if you're going to draft Tariq Woolen, Pete Carroll, and like his MO over the years is these long, mid to late round cornerbacks and let him play. Pick 68 for Darian Porter just feels like a no-brainer for Pete Carroll. And then you get your guy, because their cornerback group right now, De'Amarion Richardson, Jack Jones, Jacorian Bennett, Eric Stokes. This is one of the worst corner groups in the NFL right now. You're in a division with Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, and Pat Mahomes. Not the division you want to have the worst cornerback group in the NFL. So, again,
he's a Raider.
6, but
he's a Raider. I love everything about his game. He's super long. He's like a praying mantis. I don't know what his nickname is, but I would call him a praying mantis because he's long. His arms, he can literally scratch his ankles without bending down. That's how long his arms are. Standing straight up and just go ahead and get a little scratch right there on your Achilles tendon. I feel an itch. Not even bending down. And to your point about the Reek Woolen comparison, we have to remember, Reek was a wide receiver who made that move later in his collegiate career to corner. So he was still trying to figure things out. Porter has played corner a little longer. And I love how low he plays. Remember, Iowa State, wasn't it last year they had TJ Tampa?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, right? So they've done a great job in producing big corners because TJ was a tall guy as well. He was very, very lengthy. But Porter, he plays with great pad level. And that 4.3, he's a Raider. He's a Raider. That would be a great pick. Now, the kicker is you got to use a second round pick on him. He ain't going to be there in the third round, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, that's the evals on him are going to be interesting, or just where he comes off the board, because he didn't play much. But when he did play, you'd be hard pressed to find guys with better man coverage tape. Just truly special, unique ability as an athlete. His combine was one of the best combines all time at the position.
Low level, man. Praying mantis.
Someone's going to buy into it. So we'll see. Maybe it's pick 37, but Darren Porter to the Raiders needs to happen. Needs to happen.